You received your first paycheck of your career. What did you spend it on?
I'm embarrassed to say, but it was chips and sausage.
Mr. Mucheru, thank you so much for joining us here today. Now, you are the former Cabinet Secretary at the Ministry of Information and Communications. You served
at ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs.
Youth Affairs. Sorry, forgive me. You served under President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration from 2015 to 2022.
Correct.
Now you are here working in the private sector, speaking to us today from the position of President of JUMO. What has that transition been like for you?
I believe first a transition from private sector, where I was heading Google in Africa, that was private sector, and then getting into government. That was a huge step where you don't understand a lot of the politics, a lot of the issues that need to be dealt with. Within government, the scope is endless. You deal with everybody and everything. When it comes to information or communication, then it's everything. Now, moving from that, where you're dealing with every person, every youth, and all the issues and challenges that the country is having, trying to develop, and then coming back to private sector is actually easier, because then you have a much more focused view of the society and the things that you need to do within that. So it's easier because it's focused, but you want to have still the same kind of impact that you'd have had in government.
Okay, and I'm sure you have more free time for family stuff.
Yeah, you can engage with family. It's not political anymore. So you don't have to stop and engage with everybody. There's less social media attacks on anything that you say. I think it just seemed naturally. Well, I would say then it was the office as opposed to the individual, because now I'm still the same person, but less attacks on social media.
Okay.
So happy that it's a more peaceful life. Family is okay, less razzmatazz, I would say.
Okay.
Yes.
And so now, as the president of JUMO, what can you tell us about JUMO? What does the company do?
So first, the reason I joined JUMO is I've had this intention, in life, to want to put money into people's pockets, to find ways of ensuring more and more Africans have access to services. And so JUMO is one of those companies that is, taking both finance and technology, which are now major passions in mind. And what JUMO does is actually provide the infrastructure, the banking infrastructure that banks and financial partners, service providers, the ecosystem providers such as mobile money, or the GSM provider can use to now reach those Africans and those people that need access. So it's a great company. So providing technology that reduces for people to buy be that loans, providing savings facilities for individuals, at the micro level and businesses, and at the same time providing new revenue stream for either the ecosystem providers or for the banks who are really our partners.
Okay. Now, JUMO was founded about almost 10 years ago, correct?
It's about 7-8 years ago.
7-8 years ago, okay. Yes. In that short period of time, you've processed over $5 billion worth of loans to 22 million different individuals and small businesses. This is a considerable volume of loans for a company that's not even 10 years old.
Right.
That's very impressive achievement. Now, if you had to single out 2 or 3 factors that have led to JUMO's rapid growth and expansion over the years, what would they be?
I think the first thing I have learned over the many years I've been working is that leadership is always number one. Leadership and vision. And I would say Andrew, our CEO, the founder of the business, has been very determined to have impact on the country. I think he is one of the early technologists, has been involved in banking. And so one of the things he told me, because we met in 2015, actually I was to join him then and opted, to join President Kenyatta first. And his drive to ensure that there is financial inclusion, making change and impact for a lot of the people in Africa, that drive is very important. And then being able to recruit the best technologists, and then managing with the partners. And I would say the biggest of them all, the drivers, is actually the demand, the need by the individuals and small businesses for access to either credit or savings facilities where they can actually be able to get into the financial space, which they've otherwise been excluded from for a long time. So I would say really it's the team, the leadership and vision that we have, and the fact that there's a huge demand in the market, which until today is still largely unmet.
Yes, and this leads into my next question, but there are millions of African SMEs who have no means to access finance to grow their business, to expand, and to, make their families more financially better off.
Right.
Now, in servicing SMEs, what are the biggest challenges to address this lack of finance that's available?
So I think the first thing, if you look at the West and all other places, it's not that the consumers or the SMEs there are the ones who went and pushed the industry to give them access. Actually, the businesses organize themselves to find ways of how they can provide their services to the market.
Okay.
So again, here on the continent, we have a lot of people who actually are bankable, but on African standards, as opposed to in the West, where the kind of standards they use haven't yet fully developed on the continent. So access to people's data, credit scoring, those have been the key challenges. So for us, what we do is we have to find the individual, see what data we can get about those individuals to then start providing them the services that they need. Initially, the governments and the regulators were not fully engaging, so you didn't need to be regulated and licensed. And so you found many people coming into this space. But now the regulators are also coming in and managing to ensure that nobody's taken advantage of. For a lot of people, they believe that when you give credit to somebody, if they don't pay, then they've defaulted, then, you move on to the next person. But at JUMO, we know that if that person has defaulted, it means they will not be able to get access to money again. So they're almost worse off than they were when we started, before they even had access to the financial services. So the key thing is to make sure that, one, the consumer is well educated and understands how they can use this system to be able to grow their business or individual needs. And at the same time, the regulator understands the partners that we have, whether it's the bank or the ecosystem providers, so that you have an ecosystem that generates good income for everybody and access to finance for the individuals and the businesses.
Okay. Now, JUMO, you're currently in 6 markets at the moment: Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ghana.
Right.
I noticed on your website you have 3 new countries that you're looking to expand to in the near future. These are Nigeria, Cameroon, and Benin.
Right.
When your team is exploring new markets to expand to, what factors do you take into account in deciding where to expand?
So I think first, the maturity of the mobile money payment system. So GSM, of course, is a given without the mobile, because JUMO is actually just mobile. We started off, looking at things from the mobile perspective, because that's where most of the people on the continent you can access. So we make sure that there's also good regulation. In some countries now, other than the central bank regulations, you also now have the data protection. So just making sure the environment is quite clear. We have found that at the moment, the list of countries that we need to go to are very many. We just need to now, it's a process. What can we execute fast enough? The relationship with our partners, whether it is the financial partners, which are the bank, or with the mobile providers, the ecosystem providers for mobile money payments. So if we can get those signed up quickly enough and have the full capital to actually roll out in the market, then we will do that.
Okay.
But it always seems to the legal regulation process is what seems to take time. Over the 7 years or so JUMO has existed, most of the tech has been done. So, in terms of scaling, the cloud services and the scoring services, those can actually be scaled quite easily. The last one would be also some of our partners are also in the different markets. So it may be easier to go into a market because already both partners are already in that market. They want to expand. So we also listen to what they want and we move with them into this market. And I hope that we'll cover the whole continent soon under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And then have a sizable change and impact on the continent for the SMEs you're talking about and the individual.
Okay. Now, it's no lie that banking as a service is an extremely competitive space, and that is what JUMO does. Now, when you're having discussions with potential customers for financial services, products, how do you sell them on becoming a JUMO customer over another company?
So there are two things. One, for all of us, the partnerships that we have, we provide finance to the SME and to the individual consumer.
Okay.
So those are the things you pay for. The banks that we work with or the mobile operators, those are our partners.
Okay.
So what we do is we usually have tripartite agreement. So you go and you have a bank, you've got a mobile operator, and ourselves. We provide the technology that then allows for, if you take a bank, for example, their ability to provide credit to small businesses and individuals and at scale, they've not built that capability. So JUMO has taken time, we have built that capability, and we're able to do it at possibly the lowest cost on the continent and with the fastest time and with the best accuracy. We call a thin file, which is just the basic data that an individual would have, their mobile calling, mobile money data, and so on. We have that, and we're able to say with significant confidence, over 95-98% confidence, that this person on this personal loan, they'll be able to pay. So the advantage we have as JUMO is that we've existed for a while, and artificial intelligence, which is really what we use to be able to do the scoring, to know that this person is a good person to lend to. So we are able to work on, what level of risk can we manage. So artificial intelligence is data over time. So we've been able to get that, and I believe we started off early. So when we sit down then with our partners, we are able to demonstrate to them the reality. We've lent, you've seen it's over 5.2 billion we've lent. It's over 360 loans. 160 million loans that we've given. So we have a lot of experience in the space, and that's partly why then we have these partnerships.
Okay, yeah, one of my questions was about artificial intelligence and how JUMO is using it, but you've sort of answered that already. I think it's really special that you guys have been out there before AI has taken this current trend it's on. Everyone's talking about AI now.
Yeah.
But you guys were doing it before anyone was talking about it, essentially.
We had to, because if you look at the scale, we've got over 700 million mobile phone customers in Africa. You're talking of maybe 350 million mobile money customers. And many of those are potential consumers of the credit and savings products that JUMO provides. And to be able to do the analysis, to be able to scale the scoring that needs to be done, you cannot do it without artificial intelligence. You have to really be able to focus on each individual and then do that whole thing at scale. And so that's why we've been working in that way. The second thing is most people's data. If you look at the traditional banking methods, you bring your bank statements, you see how those have been, your utility bills and so on. But for most of the people on the continent, whether it's the business or individual, they don't have that history. But if you use artificial intelligence, you'll be able to know what are their spending habits, what kind of network do they have, which people do they engage with, what patterns emerge in terms of when they've taken loans, do they repay, and so on and so forth. So you have to put all this together. And that's where machine learning, artificial intelligence becomes critical. And we see that space is moving. It also helps us in being able to focus what to expect as we go forward. And our data teams are amazing in their focusing. You can always see, everything, what to expect, and so use of data has been critical for us, and we believe we'll continue to use AI into the future.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. The artificial, or not artificial, but the alternative credit scoring methods that have to be used here on the continent are drastically different than, in the United States, Canada, Europe, and so forth. Now, when you're doing this credit scoring, how do you make sure that your model is inclusive of all the particularities of each of your markets?
So we have several factors that we look at. So first, the financial service provider or the partner that we have says this is the kind of return they're expecting. So you've got those that are pure profit businesses that want to get as much profit as possible. That's one. You also have others that are impact investing. They want to see, can we make a change for SMEs in, say, the agricultural space or in the energy or health space and so on. And so they're willing to, take less in terms of their returns. So with the kind of mandate that we take, we then analyze the various, the customers that will be working. So initially, you might say you only want the customers that, they will repay and this is the amount they can pay back. But for those who want to increase, I would say include more people, they will say, let's take more risk. So we have a system, a model which is risk adjusted. Okay. So depending on the kind of risk the financial partner wants, we can get a certain segment. And we're happy that we have different aspects and different services, financial providers that allow us to keep increasing the eligibility. So you have data that says this person is, say, 90% willing to pay. There are those who will be willing. But there are those who come and say, look, we're happy to lend to those who are 50% likely to pay. And what we have found is that as people take that risk and as it's adjusted, more people are getting financially included. And that's what our learning models have been helping us be able to achieve. And so we're able to increase the eligibility. And so if we increase the amount of capital that's available to be able to reach people, I think over time this market is going to be much, much larger for these mobile money services than actually in the formal financial services.
Okay, now help me understand something. Right. When you give loans out, is it your FSP partner who manages making sure that repayment comes through? Or is that on JUMO's to-do list?
So that's our to-do list.
Okay.
So actually what the financial service provider does is they give us the money. We do the whole process on their behalf. And then depending on the product, they may want to have their brand upfront or the mobile operator, whichever. We're very flexible with the
partner underwrites it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So we work from that perspective, but we run the full service. So it's a banking as a service, both for the credit as well as for savings. And in some cases, some people in the savings, they also want to bring in some investment. So just providing the full suite of financial services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are there any new products or anything you can hint at or tell us about today or no?
No, I think at the moment the demand for just the existing products is so high. And so our focus really is to see how best to scale and reach as many people as possible. Post-COVID, a lot of businesses have, they suffered and they really need a quick, crisp and clear way of being able to run their finances and so on. And so we're really looking at expanding the market as much as possible to ensure that our partners as well as the consumers who we're providing the services to, especially the small businesses that employ people, that everybody is benefiting and growing.
Okay.
So some innovations will come, they're on their way, but for now, consumers are just saying, please give us access. We want money. We want more money, because initially, obviously, depending on your scoring, you don't always get the large amounts. Large amounts come as you build your credit history. So that's the process that we're working on. But I would say the innovation that I think is critical is where you're able to lend money from multiple different financial services providers to multiple different consumers.
Okay.
So at any one time, being able to match one to another and ensuring that that is working and ensuring that the repayments continue, those are very difficult algorithms or technology that you need to put in place. Because if I've taken 3 loans from 3 providers, then, what if I default on one? Which one will it be? So the innovation in making sure that all that is managed, be working on this.
Okay, I think this is a very good strategy. Oftentimes, I've noticed with some entrepreneurs, they get bogged down with almost over-innovating their product.
Right.
And then they're either spreading their team out too wide or, they can't find good product market fit. So I think this is a great strategy.
Yeah, we're just at the beginning, and we must scale. The demand is huge. So if you're talking of, say, with the current partners we have, is over 130 million subscribers that we can actually engage with. And right now we are about 22 million. It's huge. We need to scale as fast and as much as possible.
Okay, and now for a young person, say, recently graduated university, how do they build a credit score within your system, or how do they, over years kind of become able to access more and more credit?
I think like anything else, so long as you're able to repay, that's usually the key. So if they're able to access the first loan and they continue to repay, then you're able to build your credit history. All this other data and information, yes, comes to support that initial step. What's important to understand is that as JUMO, we do not take any guarantee.
Yeah.
It's all unsecured loans. So the security that we have is based on your data and your information. So have the right information, have the right data, and it's not in a sense unique, because that's what even in the West they've always used, or in the traditional method. It's only that now we can use 5,000, 10,000 data points to be able to understand you much better. But so long as you're able to repay, I think that's critical and the most important.
Okay, perfect. Now, we're coming toward the end of our conversation today. I have a few kind of quick fire questions for you.
Yes.
So yeah, let's go. Which trends will define the future of Africa's fintech industry?
It's going to be artificial intelligence. The ability for people to use the AI to do credit scoring and to know which people to provide the services to, that is going to be the future.
Okay. What is the best investment you ever made in yourself?
I think it's the Stanford Executive Program. That would be beginning to understand scale, understand how big businesses and how you can reach the masses. I think that was one of the best. But in that, health was primarily, I would say, one of the things we were taught. Take care of your body, take care of your health, eat well, exercise. And so far that has been good. So feeling healthy, being able to work, as well as then understanding how you work in the markets. Good investment.
What advice would you give to a young professional aspiring to build a career in the fintech industry?
I would say to them, they need to understand the society. They need to understand the needs of society, what does society want, and how can data and technology be used to change and solve some of the big challenges that are there. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, AI is going to change everything. I think at the moment, the artificial intelligence is getting to our level, you're talking of machines that have so much of our history and data, and they're able to come up with multiple choices. But we're getting to a point where these machines are going to become super intelligent. They're going to know more or can process and analyze more than we humans can.
Yes.
So what are we going to do then? So if you're going into technology now, please understand how you're going to deal with that kind of new area where you have, for lack of a better word, beings that are more intelligent than humans. We've been at the top of the food chain for the longest. But as we move, now we're creating something that's going to know more than us, do more than us. How are we going to deal with that? So that's what they need to look at.
Figure out the human touch, as you could say.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Mucheru, it's a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I enjoyed that.